Welcome back, everybody. I'm Bernsey, and this is part 3 of my beginner anime recommendations series of videos. I appreciate all of the support that I've been given for the first 2 videos. Lots of good feedback, lots of good questions in the comments. I did have one comment that I want to refer to. Someone said, can you add, or I guess refer to the MAL or AniList? I don't actually use those very often. I'll use them to go look things up, but that's pretty much it. I tried to work on a MAL account for a while, but it's just really cumbersome and kind of seems pointless to me, so I don't really do it. And because this is beginner, I'm not really looking to put all of that kind of information on there. It's really just, people to dip their toe in and see, what they want to see. Now that being said, I may do other lists or things of that nature and add that type of thing, but for now I'm not really worried about it. I only referred to it for Frieren because it was a big deal that it passed Fullmetal Alchemist, and that's really it. Alright, let's kick part 3 off with one of my favorite genres, which is romance. Romance is not really one of my favorite genres in all of media, but in anime I really enjoy romance. I don't know if it's the innocence of anime romance that I really like, or just kind of the cuteness or whatever, but I do really enjoy the genre. I try to watch at least one romance a season if I can. That doesn't always work out, but it is what it is. So starting off with romance, I am going to throw out Fruits Baskets. Bruh. Fruits Basket. Now, there are 2 different ones. So there's a 2019 one and like 2001 or maybe 2002. Kind of a similar situation as Fullmetal Alchemist. I don't recommend it. That being said, Fruits Baskets 2019 really follows the manga and the story is really good. Fruits Basket is about Toru Honda, who essentially becomes homeless and is living like a tent in the woods and meets this family. And when she meets this family, she learns about a secret that they have, which is where if they get too excited by the opposite sex, then they poof turn into a zodiac sign, which is an animal. And basically the whole premise of the story is that the main character, Toru, is trying to help heal everybody, and not heal, but trying to get rid of the curse that they all have on themselves. And it's a really good love story, but also kind of branches into more emotional things, more real things. It really touches on like empathy, kindness, determination, trauma for the most part. Toru ends up helping people confront their trauma, and she kind of helps everyone form like a strong bond with each other. It ends up being where there are 2 male protagonists who are interested in her, and she's kind of having to pick. Ends up being how the story kind of goes. But it's very much a tearjerker, very cute. There's comedic aspects to it. It's an interesting story in just, the premise of it, basically like people turning into zodiac signs because they're cursed or whatever. And it's done really well and animated really well. A good one to start with. I'm not gonna say like a lot of people have seen it that haven't seen other things. A lot of people who watch anime have seen it. So the next romance anime that I would like to recommend is one called Lovely Complex. Lovely Complex is a little bit older, but it is my favorite romance anime. It may have been knocked out by the one I'm gonna suggest next, but I'm not sure yet because it's not done. Lovely Complex is done. It is a romantic comedy for sure. And it's about 2 main characters, one very short male, one very tall female. I say very tall, I think he's 5 foot and she's 5'8". So it is still a pretty big height difference. I'm not sure, I don't know how to say this. I'm not sure if Lovely Complex is just really good or if it just really hit me because I'm a shorter guy. I was a shorter guy in high school. When I graduated high school, I was 4'11", and now I'm 5'6", so I'm still not like really tall, but I grew 7 inches the first year of college. So for all of you short kings out there in school, don't call me little! there's still a chance, apparently in college. It is about these two who are friends. They kind of make a comedic duo. Then one of them starts to have feelings for the other, who is completely oblivious to the feelings. It's just really romantic comedy, very romantic comedy. Could put people off just because of the older animation style, but it is still one of the best romances that I have seen in the entirety of me watching romance anime, which I have seen quite a few. A lot of the other reasons that I like Lovely Complex, aside from me just being short, is it tackles things like self-acceptance, friendship, kind of the unpredictability of love. Again, it's a romantic comedy, so it's kind of all over the place sometimes, but still follows a good storyline. So as I said, this last romance anime that I'm going to suggest to you may possibly have knocked Lovely Complex off not off the list, but out of the top position for me. And it just came out recently, which is kind of surprising, but I guess maybe not. It's called A Sign of Affection. So one thing I really like about A Sign of Affection, the four main characters, they're all in college. So normally with romance anime or most anime, there's, high school themes around a lot of it. Seeing it with adults just kind of brings you into it a bit more if you're an adult. And I feel like even if you're not an adult maybe, but that could be just because I'm an adult. I don't really know. It also looks really good. Like the art is on point. I'm not really sure what the style would be called. It is a little bit different. It's almost like pastel-y, which I think they were trying to do for the whole love thing. The story is about Yuki, who is deaf, and essentially she runs into a guy who is interested in her world and her. The story progresses with them going on dates and getting to know each other. Just normal relationship, and I think that that's kind of what really sets it apart from a lot of other ones, is it is just a normal relationship. The biggest difference I see with A Sign of Affection versus other romances, aside from the age thing, is that you're not waiting the entire time for them to declare their love. It's a long-running joke in the anime community that you watch an entire romance anime for them to hug or hold hands at the very end. There are a lot of people that have seen this versus, say, Lovely Complex, and it's probably up there with the amount of people that have seen Fruits Baskets. It was going around pretty heavy for a while. This anime for sure ranks up there pretty high, which is why I suggest it as a great starter. Now moving on from romance, we're gonna hit comedy. Now the comedy genre, oddly enough, is not one that I really care for in anime. I don't know if it's because a lot of it is like really slapstick, or if it's just because I do really like comedy in regular media that I don't necessarily care for it in anime. I'm not really sure exactly what makes it that way. For some reason, anime comedies don't really hit well for me. Doesn't mean that there aren't ones that you should start with. So let's start it off. Kicking off comedy, I went with Mob Psycho 100. Mob Psycho 100 is a very popular anime. Tons and tons of people have seen it. It has been around for a long time and just recently got a third season, and I believe that was the ending season. Mob Psycho is one of those anime that I told you about earlier that really bleeds over a lot of different genres. So it's kind of action-y, kind of adventure-y, very fantasy, like supernatural. But also comedy, and it does put a decent amount of comedy in there. So Mob kind of follows this boy, I think he's in middle school, this middle schooler who has like crazy psychic abilities, and he's being trained by someone who does not. And so that's kind of where the comedy is, but nobody really knows that Mob is like crazy, crazy strong. His psychic powers are like nuts. But I really like the themes that it tackles. So it has a lot of like friendship themes, struggling for acceptance, and kind of like the whole Spider-Man, like with great power comes great responsibility thing. I do like the artwork, especially when Mob goes higher into his psychic powers. It's a really popular one. It has been out for a long time. I know that I said that season 3 just ended. It did, but it's still been out for quite a while. It just took them a long time to do season 3. And I would say the character development is a huge part of why it's popular. So watching this one as a starter anime would be really good. For most people. All right, the second anime that I'm going to give you in the comedy genre is one that is a lot more comedic and probably my favorite one in the genre. It is called Life Lessons with Uramachi Onisan. Now, suggesting this anime is a little bit iffy because it is a lot of adult humor. And with adult humor, I don't mean like sexual or anything like that. So, you know, you see those like adulting is hard type things. This is the anime that is basically adulting is hard. So the story follows Uramichi, who works as a children's television show host, basically, and I think he's in like his mid-30s. And what's really funny is he's like very cheerful and energetic on the screen. It kind of gets turned off, or like side comments, or yeah, as soon as he leaves, as soon as the camera shuts off, he's like bleh. And during the whole show, he makes a lot of like hysterical comments to these kids where they're just super confused. It almost feels like it does a lot of fourth wall breaking, but it doesn't. It's just him looking at other people around him, which is really funny because half of them are 5 years old. And it's very like cynical and witty, a lot of sarcasm. I do find it to be a bit more adult humor, but good lord, for me to not like comedy anime, this anime had me cracking up. The whole premise is that he's trying to figure out what life is about and kind of, you know, just the pressures of adulthood, that kind of thing. So if you're, you know, 12, 13, 14, you're probably not going to understand. But if you are an adult, and especially if you're an adult in the working world, a lot of this is going to, a lot of it is going to crack you up. So there's nothing, you know, crazy about it animation wise or story wise or anything like that. It's just really funny. Okay, so the last comedy anime that I'm going to give you is a very new one. I believe it just ended this summer. I know it already has a season 2 announced, so it is ongoing. I do like to give you one of those kind of in the mix so that you can keep the party going, if that makes sense. The anime is called Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi, and it's one of those like fantasy adventure type ones that also has a lot of comedy put in, and it's also a food anime. So there's a lot of cooking and stuff in it, which is why it's called Delicious in Dungeon. The main character, Laos, I believe is how you say his name, has lost his party and he's trying to save his sister. They're all dead broke, so they start eating monsters out of the dungeon, which is like grosses a lot of people out and weirds a lot of people out. Not like real people, but like people in the story are really weirded out by it. It's really funny. I can say that it's very comical at the start, but towards the end it does start getting more serious and less comedic. Once they get to the point to where they're getting towards where the sister is, it becomes less comedic for a little while and more action adventure-y. One of the reasons I really wanted to suggest this is because it is new and it is kind of become really popular really fast. Finding somebody to talk to about Dungeon Meshi is pretty easy. I can't say that I know a lot of people that have only watched it. Really surprising to me that it ended up becoming as popular within the community as it did. And that wraps up part 3 of my beginner anime recommendations series. Hopefully these 6 anime that I gave you are up your alley and maybe you check them out. Leave me a comment below if there's a different romance anime that you suggest. That's mainly for me because I like romance anime. So if you can leave one down there in the comments that I can watch that I haven't seen before, chef's kiss. Again, thank you everyone for the support. It has been truly awesome. I did not expect nearly as much support as I have gotten. And hopefully you all tune in to the rest of the series because it should be pretty cool and I'm having a lot of fun. Do be on the lookout for some other various type of videos as well that I'll be putting out. I've really been enjoying the process of making YouTube videos and the longer content, so I'm definitely going to keep going with it. If you did enjoy my video or any of my previous videos and you have not subscribed yet, go for it. And thanks everyone again for the support. Look forward to seeing you in part 4.